you're hunting a hold-up gang, the roadway to a deserted old house sometimes looks inviting. Sometimes... I'd heard the scream. I was sure of that. But there was no sign of the screamer. None at all.
Disappeared, Smitty.
Just disappeared, Chief.
Just disappeared, George.
That's what the man said, Chief. I heard.
All right, you two. But I'm telling you, I saw it. The body of Frank Malloy.
Yeah, with that gun near him.
But you know, Smitty, Frank Malloy never even carried a gun.
It's one of the things that's bothering me. The other is the kind of gun it is.
Looks like an ordinary Derringer to me.
Take another look.
Presentation model.
That's right. Duplicate of the one Booth used to kill Lincoln. They don't make them anymore.
Well, I don't care. I don't care if it's a copy of the one that killed Alexander Hamilton. This whole thing's ridiculous. I send you out to check up on a holdup, and you come back with some story about a disappearing body and a gun that killed President Lincoln.
Duplicate. And another thing, Chief. This gun, the body, and the holdups just might tie in together.
How's that, Smitty?
Remember that stagecoach robbery a couple of weeks back, the one from Phoenix?
What about it?
That drummer from Philadelphia was on it.
That's right, and part of the loot was a Derringer.
You trying to tell me that Frank Malloy is tied into these holdups?
All I'm telling you, Chief, is that this gun was with Frank Malloy's body when I found it.
Where are you going?
I think I'll have a talk with Mrs. Malloy.
All right, Smitty, maybe you did see Frank Malloy's body lying there. But isn't it just possible that he might have taken a bad fall? That he really isn't dead?
Yes, Smitty, maybe when you heard that scream and ran in the house, he just came to and left.
You can't tell a woman she's a widow until you're sure.
I'm sure.
Where do you think you're going?
He's my partner.
Well, you just sit yourself right down, partner. I want somebody to be around here in case Smitty's wrong. Frank Malloy might stop in and say he saw a missing detective last night.
You'll excuse me if I continue working while we talk, gentlemen. I promised one of my customers this would be ready this evening, and she's depending on it.
We don't mind a bit. Go right ahead.
Now, what's so important is to bring two official gentlemen like yourselves out to see a poor woman like me.
Your husband, Mrs. Malloy. When's the last time you saw him?
About noon yesterday, just before he rode off.
Rode off? Where was he riding to?
Leadville, I think. He mentioned he had business out of town.
Then he didn't come home last night.
No, I didn't expect him.
Mrs. Malloy, have you ever seen this before?
No.
It isn't your husband's?
Oh, no. Frank doesn't own a gun. Why? Is anything wrong? Has something happened to Frank?
Mrs. Malloy, your husband's dead.
Dead?
Shot. I was passing by the old Foley place when it happened. He was dead when I got to him.
Know you're a little late?
I would have been here sooner. But I had visitors.
Huh?
Richards and that Detective Smith.
They ask about the pistol?
Just the way you said they would. I was wide-eyed. Jim, why can't we go away together now?
Look, honey, for the time being, we have to play it safe. Keep apart.
Safe. I hate that word when it means I can't be with you.
I know. But it won't be long. Do you know what she could do if we couldn't produce a body? She could go to the mayor, to the city council, and we'd all be out in the street.
Chief, I swear I saw him.
Will you stop saying that? I don't care what you think you saw. But I'm telling you what you'd better see. You'd better see Frank Malloy, alive or dead. And you better bring him back here, too, so I can see him. Understood? Well, what are you waiting for?
Me, nothing. You told me to stay around here and wait.
I know what I said. Now get moving, partner.
George.
Yeah?
Two men. Look how deep those prints are. They were carrying something, all right.
Miss Malloy.
Mm-hmm. Take a look at this set of prints.
The left foot turns in.
2 to 1, we got ourselves a man with a limp.
Smitty, no use trying to trail him with all these other tracks in here.
You know that scream I heard?
Yeah?
It came at least 30 seconds after the shot.
So?
It was a fake to get me into the house so they could get rid of that body.
You know something else, Smitty? That scream you heard ain't nothing to the one Richard's gonna let out when we come back without Malloy.
Well, what do you mean you couldn't find the body?
We found some prints, though.
Who needs prints?
There were 4 people out there, 3 men and a woman. The woman's prints were only in the back of the house.
Oh, will you stop playing around with that lantern?
Strike you funny that no one living out there, there'd be a lantern full of kerosene in one of the rooms? Find out anything?
Kind of interesting, too.
Let's have it.
Well, you know how Malloy was always the quiet type, loved his wife and all? Well, the past couple of months, he's been running around with a girl.
What girl?
Peggy Casson.
Peggy Casson.
You know her?
Yeah, she works over at Conley's Saloon.
Hey, Mr. Smith.
Official, Smitty?
No. I'd like to think of it as just a friendly little conversation.
What's on your mind, friend?
Frank Malloy. Talk as you've been holding his hand.
Oh, talk's wrong. I just been listening to his troubles. You know me, Smitty. As long as a man can buy, I can listen.
Tell you anything interesting?
Just mostly that the Arabs are right.
The Arabs?
An Arab prizes his horse first, his wife second, and never trusts a friend.
Well, I know Frank had a horse and a wife. Did he have any friends you know of?
Just those 2 back there.
Never saw them before.
New in town. Names, Pete Keller and Monty something or other.
Thanks, Peg.
With you, Smitty, a friendly conversation is always a pleasure.
I wanted to see if the 2 at the bar would make a move. They didn't. Instead, Conley came out of his office and took Peg back in with him.
What did Smith want?
Oh, we just dropped in for a friendly talk, Jim. Nothing to worry about.
You know how I am, Peggy. It's a holdover from my younger days. The law always makes me nervous.
Oh, he was just curious about Frank Malloy.
Malloy? What did you tell him?
Nothing. What's to tell? Just that he's been hanging around with those 2 new men out there.
You told him that? Peggy, I ought to break your neck. From now on, you don't tell anybody anything about what happens in my place. You understand?
Just a minute. I only work here. You don't own me. I can say anything I want to my friends.
I don't happen to like your particular friends.
You gonna tell me what kind of friends to have?
Oh, you and I better have an understanding. As long as you work for me, you do what I say. Smith, what do you want?
Nothing? Come in. I wouldn't. As long as you're here, why don't you sit down? I'll admit that just because the limbs may not be evidence, but
Well, I'm glad you admit that.
Malloy was tied in with them, and they're tied in with Conley.
And you're trying to tie them all in with a holdup.
And the murder, too.
Well, then why didn't you bring them in?
On what charge? Striking a peace officer? I nail him, it'll be on a lot more than that.
If you're right, this is the place where we can get the answers out of them. Find out about the Foley place.
Well, I went to the courthouse, and the deed was in Venetia Malloy's name. And guess who paid for it?
Conley.
Well, how'd you know?
Hey, Chief, take a look at this wick. Does that mean anything to you?
Well, it's been used pretty much. It's homemade. Not the regular kind you buy in the store.
You know, I think I better pay another visit to our little seamstress.
Well, Mr. Smith, I hope you have some good news about Frank.
I'm afraid not, Mrs. Malloy. I thought perhaps you might have a picture of him that I could show around, just in case I was mistaken. Tintype, anything you have will do.
I'll see what I can find. He had this taken a couple of years ago. Really isn't very good, but it'll help.
You write a real pretty hand, Mrs. Malloy.
I only hope Frank will be home before you have to use that picture.
So do I.
All right, Clarky, where's the bottle? I had a bottle right there, and I want one right there now.
George, hadn't you ought to take it easy on this stuff? I wouldn't want to see you get in any trouble.
Trouble? You gonna get me into trouble, Clarky?
No, not me, George, but... Well, you know how the chief feels about drinking on duty. And Smitty, too.
The chief, Smitty. That's all I hear, the chief, Smitty. What about me? What am I, a dope or something? Who rode out there and found it anyhow, huh? Who rode out there and found it?
Oh, I don't know, George. Did you find something?
Who found some? I didn't say nothing.
Well, what'd you find, George? I bet you found a gold mine. That's it.
Ain't no gold in a stiff.
Stiff? You mean somebody found a body? Well, whose body is it, George?
Who said anything about finding a body? You know something, Clarky? You talk too much.
How'd you make out?
Now, that's a silly question asking me. I made out fine, naturally. Hey, Smitty, you should have seen old Monty and Pete. They went up to Conley's to report. Came barreling out of there, got on their horses, hightailed it for the high country like you don't know what.
Which way?
Up that old canyon road.
Malloy's still down there.
Romack could have meant any other body. That ain't the only stiff in Denver.
Let's get back and let Conley breathe easy again.
plot had worked. They had shown us where Malloy's body was hidden, and I had plans for that body.
Same cloth. Which means only one of two people could have taken that lantern to the Foley place.
Malloy or his missus?
You know, Smitty, with the wick, the derringer, the footprints, no jury's going to take that as any proof.
You're convinced, aren't you?
If I am.
I'd like to try something.
Is it legal?
I'll nail Malloy's killer so no jury will ever turn him loose.
Well, I'll take that for yes.
Smitty?
Next, Romack and I arranged to call on an old friend, a reformed forger named Walter Fry. George had located him in back of the livery stable. Here you are.
Yeah, if you please. Let me see. There's a simple slant, rounded letters. Denotes a very passionate nature. The writer was a woman.
How about this one?
Yeah, much larger. More determined.
Can you do them?
If I can't, nobody can.
You boys wait here.
Darling, I was so worried. As soon as I got your note, I came
My note.
Yes, I came right over. Jim, what's wrong?
Honey, I didn't send any note. I received one.
But who could have done it? Smith. Do you suppose he's found Frank?
No, the boys checked that earlier. But he must suspect something. Come on, we can talk later. Right now, we've got to get out of here.
Well, I wonder what brought you two out here. Oh, I wouldn't worry about Monty and Pete. They're well taken care of. Well?
All right, so we're in love. Any law against that?
No, there isn't. But there's a law against murdering a husband who finds out about it.
Oh, come on, Smith. You know you can't prove murder without a body.
That's right. That's what the law says.
And you have no objection if I see Mrs. Malloy home. You know where I'll be if you need me.
Yes. I know where you're going to be for a long time, Conley. Try that door over there. I'll send a couple of boys out to give you a hand, George.
All right, Smitty.
Romack and I were quite content. Our plan for moving Malloy's body into that closet had worked. It was Venetia Malloy's scream I had heard that night. A scream she'd regret for all the years she'd spent behind bars.